Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to our AEW series in TEW2020. I of course am CR Daredevil bringing you all of the live action, and it is the first Dynamite after Fyter Fest 2020 where we had our best show that we've had in the series. A very good show indeed. A lot of great action that happened on it. And now we are on the road to Double or Nothing, which happens in about 2 months' time in game. Tonight we have the beginning of the AEW International Championship tournament thing, which we will find out as the night goes on. So that'll be happening. On top of that, we do have one other match announced for tonight. On top of the fallout from Fyter Fest, we do have one-on-one Adam Cole will be taking on Hangman Adam Page, that rivalry that's been going on for a couple of months now. That match will be happening here tonight. Plus, we'll get fallout from that show. If you have not watched it, you should definitely go back and watch it before you watch this because it is going to have a lot of spoilers. But let's dive into things. We start off as we usually do with our unofficial Dark happening in front of 3,619 people at the Alico Arena in Florida. We are increasing our weekly show attendances, so that's really cool. And we have the in-ring return of Mayu Iwatani. She's back from injury, and her and Io Shirai team up to defeat Camilla Khan and Penelope Ford in 954 when Mayu gets the victory over Camilla with a two-step dragon suplex. 46 rated for the match, 48 from Io, 45 from Mayu, who's benefiting from having a hot new move, 38 from Camilla, and 36 from Penelope. So yeah, Mayu Iwatani is back in the ring. She's able to compete again in the ring. And her and Io team up on Dark to get a victory, to get a tag team victory. Of course, 3 Elite riding a little high right now after Kairi got a big victory over Mercedes at Fyter Fest. So we'll have to kind of see what's happening here tonight. This is, if I remember right, this is actually the only appearance that we have of that storyline, technically, tonight. Kairi's not on the show and Mercedes is not on the show, but, it's Dynamite, or it's AEW at this point. Like, I'm sure that will be on the show next week. But we had some stuff I wanted to get done here tonight, so. But there you go. So, opening contest, the Dark sees Thunder Rock into victory. After that, we get a brief little interview segment where I've kind of decided that I'm going to be using Andrea Ocampo a little bit more on Dark and not as much on Dynamite for interviews because her popularity is still kind of low, which I guess, obviously doesn't make super amount of sense because we need to get her popularity up, and doing it on the official pre-show is not going to get it up that high, but I'm trying to get her built up a little bit more so she doesn't keep tanking segments on Dynamite. But she has a quick little interview here with Mansoor, who, just kind of excited to be here in AEW, looking forward to competing against some of the big names in the wrestling today, all that kind of stuff. It's just basically a little promo. Gets 26 rating. Then after that, 38 for Sean Dean, defeating Lee Johnson in 802 by pinfall. Dean with a 28, Lee Johnson with a 38. Not really a great match, but they went out there and they did their thing. They're performing in front of the crowds, just trying to get better, all that kind of stuff. Lee Johnson, the better in-ring performer, but he did not pick up the victory, as Sean Dean got a victory here tonight. Then we get a 44 rated matchup. The C's Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, defeat Zoe Sky in 921 by submission with a lockjaw. 44 rating, 46 from Baker, 30 from Zoe Sky. Of course, Baker and Kaylee Ray having their issues still at this point. They did not have a match at Fyter Fest, but they did have some issues. And we will have to see some point in the near future what ends up happening with that. Yes, of course, Britt Baker finding an ally in Karen Q, so you would imagine Kaylee Ray needs to find an ally, but we'll have to see what ends up happening. But 44 rating for this match here. Then after that, another interview, kind of similar to the Mansoor one earlier, with Xia Brookside. Just being excited to be here in AEW. Of course, she's kind of talks briefly about her history in the wrestling business with her father, Robbie Brookside. Because, of course, you got to remember, in this universe, NXT UK, I don't think she was ever officially a part of NXT UK. So If she is, she's like currently there. Like because we only have her handshake deal, so she might currently be in NXT UK. But she kind of talks up, the wrestling business and all that stuff, and looking forward to opportunities here in AEW as well. Just kind of nice little introductions to some of these lesser known wrestlers that aren't getting featured as much. Maybe some fans can start getting behind them a little bit more and all that. Then the main event of Dark sees Dalton Castle defeat Ricky Starks in 8:37, that is, by pinfall to Bang Ring. 48 from Dalton Castle, 32 from Ricky Starks. 46 rating for the match itself, so not too bad for Dark here. We open up the Dynamite portion of tonight with a video package. Not a video package. It's a video that opens up the show. Regal's, not in the ring, whatever. He's back in his office, and it's a pre-taped video. And he says that tonight we start the crowning of a new champion here in AEW, the AEW International Championship, which was announced at Fyter Fest for those who are like, huh, what? Got announced at Fyter Fest. So like I said, you need to go back and watch that video first. But the AEW International Championship is going to be a thing. And Regal says that it's going to be a little unique, a little different, because we want to give as many people opportunities as possible. But it really is going to be a one-time or one-off opportunity kind of thing. Like, you're really going to have to win or go home, so to speak. So starting tonight, we will have 6 fatal 4-way matches over the next 6 weeks on Dynamite. You're in a fatal 4-way matchup. The winner is the one who the winner gets the victory, and they move on to a 6-way ladder matchup at Double or Nothing for the International Championship. That's it. You have to win the fatal 4-way match to go on to that. So 24 people will be getting their opportunity, but only 6 will advance onto that ladder match to crown the first ever AEW International Champion. There is 24 people entered. We already know about one of them, Johnny Gargano. However, Johnny Gargano's fatal 4-way matchup is not happening tonight. We have a different fatal 4-way matchup happening tonight, which will be happening later, a little bit later in the show. I think it's technically the opening contest, but we have another segment or two before it. So, but there you go. So that's how that's going to work. You have to win a fatal 4-way matchup to get into a 6-way ladder match. And the winner of that ladder match will become the first ever AEW International Champion. I had a couple different plans in mind. It was never going to be a one-on-one tournament. I had a couple different plans in mind, but I decided to use those tournament ideas for future stuff. We're not going to go overboard like Tony Khan does in real life, but we're going to be using some tournaments here in AEW. Not like super frequently, but at least fairly frequently. Kind of like a, one every few months kind of thing or whatever. We'll kind of see how it plays out, but there you go. So that's going to be a thing. We're going to be crowning the first ever AEW International Championship or champion at Double or Nothing, and we will see who advances later on tonight. Then I knew this was going to lose heat, but I did it anyway because I needed to, because it's building up my main event for the night. Pac comes out, still your AEW World Champion, after winning the 3-way matchup against Jay Lethal and Samoa Joe at Fyter Fest. He comes out and he thanks everyone for believing in him. Says, he was constantly told by all the bigwigs in the wrestling business that he was just too small to be a world champion. And not only has he been the world champion, been the first world AEW world champion, but he's been successful since winning that championship. He's gotten victory after victory, and then just this past weekend, he won a 3-way matchup against 2 very tough competitors and proved why he is still the AEW World Champion. This brings out Jay Lethal, who says that he hates to be that guy, but Pac pinned Joe in that matchup. He didn't pin Lethal. Joe should have never been in that matchup to begin with. Lethal was never pinned in that match. Lethal shouldn't be just cast aside like that, just like that. He wants a one-on-one match. He wants a one-on-one rematch with Pac for that AEW World title. He wants to prove that he can beat Pac and not have to worry about some outsider getting involved in the matchup and being involved in the finish of it. Pac says, listen, I'm a fighting champion. I have no problem defending the title against you, but you haven't exactly earned it. And Lethal's, not happy about this, however, and Pac's like, but tell you what, I'm a founding champion. I will give you an opportunity if, the key word being if, you can defeat my team in the main event tonight. And Lethal's like, what are you talking about? And Pac's like, well, I'm not alone here in AEW. I've got friends. I've got the Death Triangle with me. The Lucha Bros. Pentel, Soda M, and Ray Fenix, who, over the last few months have kind of wanted a piece of you after, after some tainted victories you've gotten over them. So, I'm going to go back. I'm going to get my guys, Penta and Fenix. They're going to come out in the main event with me. You can go to the back and you can find 2 people who might somehow team with you. And we can have a 6-man tag in the main event. Trios match, if you will. You guys win, I'll grant you a title shot. You lose, though, I'm moving on from you to someone else. Lethal, obviously not happy about this, says, he's not happy about it. He gets ready to kind of explode on Pac, about this, however, and Truth Martini kind of stops him and whispers in his ear, because, of course, for those who don't know, Truth Martini is his manager, and whispers in his ear. And Lethal just kind of smirks a little bit and says, all right, you got a deal. So there you go, 6-man tag match here tonight in the main event. It is going to be the Death Triangle versus Jay Lethal and his mystery 2 partners, but we don't know who he's going to get as his partners yet. 67 rating here for this, though. Pretty good stuff there. Then we have that opening contest, which is a fatal 4-way matchup to qualify for the AEW International Championship tournament, or ladder match at Double or Nothing. And although it's a poor matchup, it still gets a 52 rating, which isn't bad at all. And it sees Angelico defeat Austin Creed, Wheeler Yuta, and Marty Martinez in 10:49. When Angelico gets Wheeler Yuta to tap out to a Krichika in a Verta. And he moves on to the 6-way ladder match. So very good stuff there. Angelico getting a potential, getting a shot at a championship here in AEW. He had that decent feud with Kazarian a while back. Hasn't really done a whole lot since then, and now he's qualifying for the Double or Nothing ladder match to determine the first ever AEW International Champion. So that'll be interesting for him. But there you go, 53 from Angelico, 50 from Creed, 41 from Yuta, who seemed off his game, and 47 from Martinez. So nice little stuff there. Marty Martinez tried to get it, despite losing to El Generico at Fyter Fest, couldn't get the job done. Yuta, of course, in a little bit of a struggle with him trying to decide between the people who have tried to help him see the light recently in the Prisoners of War and of his original trainers in the Best Friends. And then Creed, who hasn't really been doing a whole lot here in AEW, but he was, he had an opportunity, and end of the day, Angelico got the victory. So there's that. 52 rating there. Then after that, well, that didn't work out. I thought I scripted them. All right, whatever. The Inner Circle have a promo backstage with Jericho, where Jericho is just kind of ignoring the fact that he lost to Jon Moxley this past weekend. He says, all right, we need to get the Inner Circle doing the right things here in AEW. We need to focus on the Inner Circle having success here in AEW. And Guevara and Hager just kind of look at each other like, what, are we ignoring this past weekend? And Jericho's just like, so here's what we're going to do. You and me, Sammy, we're going to get like sex gods. We're going to take them to the top. We're going to get our tag team to the top here in AEW. We're going to earn ourselves a shot at the tag team titles. And we're going to do so starting next week. You and I, we're going to have a tag team matchup next week on Dynamite. And we're going to get our shot. We're going to get a shot at the tag team titles. And Jake, I've already talked to Regal. You're in that AEW International Championship, whatever the heck it is. You're in a fatal 4-way matchup here in the future. You're going to go on and you're going to win Double or Nothing. You're going to have International Championship gold. We're going to have Tag Team gold, and the Inner Circle is going to be at the top of AEW. So Jericho's just ignoring the fact that he lost to Moxley this past week. So there is that. 48 rating, as we'll have to see what happens with the Inner Circle heading forward. Then after that, Miro defeats Darby Allin in 8-16 by submission with a game over. 60 rating for the match. 66 from Miro, 40 from Darby Allin. Darby kind of gets a little bit of offense here, but not much. You do have to remember this is 2020, so this is before Darby really got hot. And in this universe, Darby hasn't really gotten that hot in this either. So He's not being built up as one of AEW's pillars, so to speak. And you can kind of see with his in-ring performance why. Because he's really not that good in the ring in this mod right now. But he's still got a 40, which isn't terrible. But Miro getting the victory here. Looking strong. He's got that feud with Matt Sydal going on right now. Which, speaking of which, after this matchup, Sydal comes out and hits the ring and actually chases off Miro. Sends him out of the ring over the top rope. Kind of goes running at him with a knee to the face that sends Miro kind of stumbling backwards over the top rope. Miro is absolutely livid. He tries to get up on the apron over, and Sydal kicks him off the apron again. He's, losing his mind over right now as CJ Perry's yelling at Matt Sydal in the ring. And officials come out to try to keep Miro from getting back in the ring again. As Sydal just kind of stands there, kind of, showing up to, kind of stepping up to Miro. He's not afraid to back. He's not backing down from Miro at this point. So 65 rating here as we advance that storyline. Then we get a 56 here in the backstage segment as we have Truth Martini and Jay Lethal talking backstage. Lethal goes, all right, so you said you have a plan. What's your plan? Because there's not a lot of people around here who like me, first off. There's not a lot of people around here who like you either. What's your plan? And Truth's like, listen, there's nothing to worry about, Jay. I've got your back. I've had your back for years now. There's nothing to worry about. Jay's like, yeah, but like the Death Triangle, they're kind of, I hate to admit it, but they're kind of good. Like they're, the Lucha Bros are one of the better tag teams in wrestling today. I need some strong partners. And Truth's like, listen, I've already been talking to someone. I've already been talking to two people. We've been talking. You and I have been talking about how the House of Truth needs to expand. How it needs to become more than just the two of us. I've already been talking to a couple people. Now would be the perfect time to introduce them. Here tonight. And Jay's like, well, who are they? And Truth just looks over, sees the camera there, whispers into Jay's ear. Jay has a little bit of smirk on his face. He's like, all right, I can work with that. And the two walk off. So they have a plan. Apparently, not only is it two people who are going to be teaming up with Jay Lethal tonight, but it's two people who are getting introduced as newest members of the House of Truth. So the House of Truth is actually becoming a stable here in AEW. And whoever is Jay Lethal's partners tonight are going to be the newest members of the group. So we'll have to see what ends up happening there. But 56 rating for that, as we will have to see what happens with that later on tonight. Then we get a 46 rated segment as we have Alexis Kaufman backstage, the new AEW Women's World Champion. She's got the championship on her shoulder, kind of looking at herself in the mirror with it on her shoulder. The crowd cheering pretty loudly. She's starting to get a bit of a following behind her, starting to get pretty popular here in AEW. And Chris Statlander shows up. And Stat goes, listen, I know you didn't mean to DDT me last week on Dynamite. And I know that the better woman won this past Saturday. I know that. But I gotta bring this up. Because a few weeks ago, you approached me wanting help against the Bunny because of Rosemary. And you said that if either one of us won the championship, that we would give the other a title shot. So I hate to say it, but I just kind of want to talk to you about getting a title shot. Alexis is like, I'm not gonna back out of the promise there, Chris. You've got a title shot. I'm sure that Rosemary or the Bunny are gonna be, dealing with it. We're still gonna have to deal with them in the near future, but I promise you've got a title shot. I'll go talk to Regal about it now. I don't know if it's gonna be next week, but I can tell you that it's going to be sometime in the next couple of weeks. It'll happen. Don't worry. And Chris walks off with a big smile on her face. She's happy about getting a title shot as Alexis kind of looks on at her, just kind of a little confused, almost, like one of those, does she only care about the title shot kind of thing? She's kind of unsure about her loyalties there. And speaking of her loyalties, Chris Statlander's got a match here tonight, a tag team matchup, where she's not teaming up with Alexis Kaufman, because instead, she's teaming up with Martina. And in a 43-minute matchup, Martina and Chris Statlander get the victory over Alice Crawley and Mia Yim in 10:47, when Martina pinned Alice Crawley with a fast roll-up Alice Crawley, that is, with a fast roll up there. Kind of advancing the Mia Yim and Martina storyline there. 50 for Mia Yim, 29 from Alice Crawley, who was just kind of like, it was one of those things, the commentators were kind of talking about it. Martina, they were both supposed to pick partners. Martina picked Chris Statlander because she's trying to get in good with best friends right now. And obviously Chris is one of the best friends, so she was teaming up with her. And Mia Yim literally, apparently according to the commentators, Mia Yim literally just went back into the women's locker room, looked around, pointed at Alice Crawley and said, "You're coming with me." So she didn't really care about who, she was just picking somebody to be her partner. And unfortunately, it didn't work out for her because Alice is the one who got rolled up in this matchup. 43 rated match, though, as it does advance the storyline. We'll have to see what happens with that. 38 for Martina, who did seem off her game, so she could have been a little bit better, but 41 from Statlander, 29 from Crawley, and 50 from Yim. So we'll have to see, because of course, the storyline started with Martina spilling beer or spilling alcohol on Mia Yim, and now it's just had a couple of tag team matches, but not really much else. So we'll have to see where things go from there with that. But nice little tag team match up here. Not too bad there. Then, continuing on in the women's division stuff, we have Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, standing by backstage with Tony Schiavone and Karen Q. And Baker and Q kind of mock Kaylee Ray. They're like, "Oh, she's so lonely here in AEW that she had to depend on a chair to chase us off. She couldn't find anybody to actually team up with against us. She couldn't, she's supposed to be like one of the big names here in AEW. She's supposed to be such a big name and having such success, but all she's done is nothing but failures lately. She's nothing. Whereas I, Britt Baker speaking here, she's like, whereas I am the face of this place. I am the face of AEW's women's division." And Tony's like, "Well, you haven't even gotten a shot at the AEW Women's Championship in quite some time. In fact, somebody who you were feuding with for a while is now the current women's champion." And Britt turns to Tony's like, "That is not what I'm talking about right now. I'm not talking about that idiot that has a championship right now. I am talking about me. It is about me. I am the face of this place." She kind of loses it over, and Shivani's just like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry." And then Baker ends up storming off, and Karen kind of looks back at Tony and goes, "Yeah," and just walks off with her. So 41 rating here as Baker, acting like Kaylee Ray is nothing, but we'll have to see what happens with that when they meet in the ring. Then, in a pretty good matchup here, got a 64 rating, which is nice. They have pretty good chemistry with each other, so that's good too. Jonathan Fatu defeats one half of the Thrill Seekers, Trevor Lee, in 12-18 by pinfall, the Superfly Splash. 64 rating for the match, Fatu with a 62, Trevor Lee with a 51. Nice matchup here, as it kind of, the commentators kind of talking about Fatu's recent issues with Cody Rhodes and his promo on Fyter Fest, where he kind of said that he knows Cody Rhodes all too well and he knows the real Cody Rhodes and all that. And afterwards, after this match, Fatu is, celebrating the victory a little bit before Cody Rhodes comes out on the stage and says, "I don't know why you seem to think that there's like this other side of me that I'm not showing, the real side of me that I'm not showing. I don't know why you seem to think that that's a thing, because these fans, especially over the last few years, ever since I left the place that you and I are both familiar with, that you and I knew each other in, ever since then, these fans have gotten to know the real me. This is the real me, Cody Rhodes. This is the real me. So I don't know why you're assuming that you think you know this other version of me or whatever, but all I know is that you are clearly too much of a coward right now to be stepping in the ring with me. So until you decide to actually step in the ring with me, I don't really care about what you have to say. Maybe you should actually step in the ring with me one-on-one at some point." Fatu just kind of stares up at Cody, and that's how it kind of ends the segment. So Cody seeming confused as to what Fatu was even talking about. And, says that he's shown his honest, true self to the fans, and we'll have to see if these two end up facing each other at a point in the near future. Then we get a brief little promo from the Elite backstage, where they're down in the dumps. They're sad because they lost to the Dark Order at Fyter Fest. The Young Bucks can't seem to get themselves a shot at the tag titles. Omega, is maybe kind of realizing that there might be a little bit more to Tommy End than he thought there was. They're kind of a little bummed right now. They're just like, well, I mean, we've lost matches before, but this is a bit more than that. It feels like, it's a little bit more than that. Like we're kind of struggling here against the Dark Order. It's kind of making it clear that they're not sure what they have to do next to kind of overcome these issues. 52 rating here, though, as we'll kind of have to see what develops next for the Elite here. Then we get that matchup that gets a 65 rating. Very good stuff here. As Adam Cole defeats Hangman Adam Page in 11:34 by pinfall to boom after Britt Baker caused a distraction. 65 from Adam Cole, 46 from Hangman. Gain T for the storyline. But yeah, it was one of those things where Page had Cole basically ready to be defeated before Britt Baker caused enough of a distraction that allowed Cole to kind of get a sneaking advantage, kind of one of those things where like the ref was distracted as well, so Cole's able to get a low blow or something and to set up Page up for the boom and gets the 1, 2, 3. So there you go. Cole with the victory, albeit by distraction. So we'll, gotta imagine that the feud is not gonna be over just by a tainted victory like that. So we'll have to see where things go from there. But 65 rating I will definitely take. Good stuff for that match there. Especially with a 46 from Hangman. So we're building him up. We're building him up slowly. I mean, at the start of the series, he was getting like low 30s in ring. Now he's gotten up to a 46. So we're getting him up there. Just have to keep putting in the work. After that, El Generico's backstage. He's talking to William Regal in Spanish. He's saying all this stuff. He's really animated. He's really excited. And Regal just kind of stops him and says, I don't speak Spanish, right? And Generico's like, shows frustration over and then leaves. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I wanted to have a little bit of a comedy segment here. And kind of have Generico kind of speaking Spanish like he's supposed to be speaking, and everybody, and Regal not being able to understand it, which is interesting. It'll be a continuation of a thing for a little bit. So this is just part one in this little mini story, comedy story thing I've got going on. So there you go. So El Generico's trying to say something to Regal, but Regal can't speak Spanish apparently. Then we get a 66 rated matchup, or promo that is, where Jon Moxley comes out and says, there, I beat Chris Jericho at his game. I beat him in my game, and I beat him at his game. I beat him in a Falls Count Anywhere matchup, and I beat him in a regular wrestling matchup. And just like that, Jericho's, he's lost his mind. He's acting as if the match didn't happen. He's focusing on tag team, whatever. He's going to do his thing. I'm going to do my thing. I came here to AEW to compete with the best here in AEW, the best in professional wrestling, and honestly the best who I haven't faced yet. I didn't want to have to deal with Jericho because I've beat him many times before, but I dealt with him. Now I'm focusing on taking on people who I'm not familiar with. I want to issue a challenge to anybody in the back who I'm not familiar with, who I haven't been competing with recently. I want to see who's going to step up to the plate. And as he's sitting there looking to see if anybody else comes out from the back, all of a sudden he gets jumped from behind by the Machine, Brian Cage, who lays him out in the middle of the ring, leaves him laid out, hits the drill claw, and stands over him in a 66 rated segment here. Very good stuff there. As it looks like we're heading towards Moxley and Cage going at it here, which will be very interesting because Cage is, he's had a lot of success here. I mean, he did end up losing to Kenny Omega in their little one-on-one battle, or one-on-one little feud with each other. But to be fair, he won a lot of those matches in that. So maybe he'll give Moxley a run for his money. Maybe he'll actually defeat Moxley. We'll see. But 66 rating here for that. And then we have our main event, which gets a 79 rating. Very good stuff there. As I'm about to head good wrestling DC rap from the crowd, Jay Lethal and the duo who have joined the House of Truth, Private Party, have defeated the Death Triangle in 12:51 when Jay Lethal pinned Ray Fenix with a lethal injection. 79 rated for the match. What does this mean? Two things. One, Private Party are the newest members of the House of Truth, which are very interesting because Private Party, they had a decent feud with the Young Bucks before, but they haven't really done a whole lot since then. Well, now they have something to do because they are a part of the House of Truth. And on top of that, Jay Lethal pinning Fenix means that Lethal is going to get his rematch for the AEW World Championship. So we'll have to see where things go with that. But there you go. 79 rating for this matchup. Very, very strong main event here on Dynamite. The show itself gets a 74 rating. I'll take it. That main event definitely saved us, but I'm not going to complain in the slightest. Very good stuff there from AEW this week. So there you go. Private Party are the newest members of the House of Truth. And I think I kind of teased it a little bit over the last couple months, but like I've been mentioning, I do have plans for some people who hadn't really been featured much on the build to Fyter Fest. Private Party were one of them. I had already planned on Private Party joining up with Jay Lethal and Truth Martini as part of the House of Truth for a little bit now. It was going to happen before Double or Nothing. I just didn't know exactly when it was going to happen before Double or Nothing, but we're pulling the trigger here. So there you go. Jay Lethal has two new members of the House of Truth, and it is the Private Party who, they're a tag team that definitely are good. They just deserve more attention, and obviously teaming up with the person who's getting another shot at the AEW World Championship is obviously a very good way to get yourself some attention. So we will have to see where things go heading forward with that. Where things go with Private Party joining Jay Lethal in the House of Truth. So there you go. Very successful show indeed. Obviously carried by the main event, but even then, honestly, it's still good performances all around. Especially coming off of a pay-per-view, because we gotta build new storylines. Some storylines, some storylines weren't really touched on as much on this episode of Dynamite, and some were. We had to give some people gave some people a little bit of rest after what happened. But there you go. All right, so we'll look at the stuff here real quick. This is a new story that popped up yesterday. Rey Mysterio Jr. is the newest one who bullied a apparent 12-year-old online. I thought that was kind of funny because I don't imagine Rey Mysterio Jr. ever bullying anybody on social media, but apparently in this save he is. So there's that. Also, Sanity came to an end in WWE, which is kind of interesting because they just signed re-signed Eric Young. So that's kind of weird that they just re-signed Eric Young and they end his group. I don't know what he's doing at this point, but we'll see. There's that. Those there. We have Hatkinson, or Luke Gallows, for those who are unfamiliar with his real name. We have him on our short list because I think he left. I'll look really quick. I think he left WWE, and he hasn't really done anything. Let me look here. Trying to figure out what name he's under in this, because he's not in there under that name. I'm not sure, but yeah, so he's I think he left WWE in this though. And now he's apparently getting an offer from Noah, so we'll have to see how that plays out. Anyway, ratings for the week. NXT still having more viewers, but we're closing the gap. That's less than 300,000 difference now, which I think is the first time that's happened, that we're within 300,000 of NXT. They had 765,000 viewers. We had 473,000. They had a 54 rated show. We had a 74 rated show. Even without our main event, we still would have had a stronger show than them. Birch and Lorcan defeated Heavy Machinery in a cage match to retain the NXT tag team titles there. So we'll kind of have to see what happens with that. But yeah, there was NXT doing its thing there. Still doing better than us officially viewership wise, but rating wise, we had a better show. Our show was consistently better there. As you look, That 74 is their second best show of all time, so it's our best Dynamite. 1 point off of Fyter Fest. I mean, it's, the top 3 shows are the last 3 shows that we've run. Like, that we're hitting our stride now. We're hitting, we're finding the thing. Third best match of all time, Lethal and Private Party against the Death Triangle. I mean, we're finding our stride now. We're getting, we're getting there. The attendance, 3619, our highest Dynamite attendance we've had. So we're finding our stride now. We're definitely finding it to where we are, most viewerships that we've had to, most viewers that we've had to for Dynamite. We're finding our stride now, and we are growing quickly as we go here. So we'll have to see where things go with Dynamite and with AEW itself heading forward. So thank you all for watching. Definitely appreciate it. In this series, we will see you next week for another episode of Dynamite, where we will have another Fatal 4-Way qualifier matchup, as well as everything else that's going to be happening. And on the channel, we will see you tomorrow for yet another video.